The Great One's Future by ParadexTM 22 Sorcerer's Dynasty Seran. Rimuru Pav. I missed it, the wind on my face as well as the feeling of my hair moving freely as I was riding Ranga. I petted his fur as he, too, was excited to be together with me again. Chloe and Shizu both were on the back of two Tempest Wolf familiars that Ranga summoned, and Frey was flying over us as we were currently passing through the Great Jura Forest, more of a jungle, I would say, at least at the deeper parts. Rimuru dear, we are being observed by others, Shizu said. All of us are godly beings and, hence, long sensed the presence of the Elven scouts around the area. Just let them be. We aren't here for a bad reason anyway, I answered here. I didn't expect the forest to grow this beautiful, not to mention that it survived and no human nation bared its fangs on it, Frey, who could look over the endless trees, said excitedly. It's her first time outside of Black Castle. Chloe remained silent but enjoyed the conversation between Rimuru and the other wives. For her, there was nothing better than seeing Rimuru happy and for once without wearing Shizu's mask. We are close, Master, Ranga said and waved with his tail excitedly. At least he didn't change at all over these many years. Hi, good boy. I complimented him while caressing his fur a bit stronger as a reward. We all slowed down until we came to a stop. The wolves howled shortly as a sign of a completed mission and then gathered together once we went down from their backs. Just shortly after, there was moving around the bush and trees. It seems like they are trying to surround us, honey. How should we proceed? Chloe asked as she walked up to my side. Before I could answer Chloe, one of the few elves surrounding us shouted, You've trespassed the border to the Sorcerer's Dynasty Seran. What do you want at our lands, filthy humans? It was a female voice. She seems to be the strongest as an ultimate skill holder. After analyzing, it appears to be the goddess Artemis's personality or abilities that fits her the most, hence creating a new ultimate skill in similarity of the goddess as you've wished for in the past, Seal told me. Well, I indeed ordered Seal to override and upgrade the voice of the world with the gods that I had knowledge of, before I went to sleep. Artemis, huh? She had many titles: goddess of nature, childbirth, wildlife, the hunt, sudden death, animals, virginity, young women, and archery, as well as the personification of the moon. It must be a strong ultimate skill for an elf, even fitting, I dare to say, I thought. Obviously, I wouldn't make silly mistakes, Seal said, and I could imagine her pouting right now. I should be careful not to enrage her any further. I've forgotten for a bit that Seal, in fact, is the voice of the world. Shouldn't you be more careful about who you point your weapons at? It was Frey who said this. While I can't blame her as she has lived as a goddess for a long time, probably never getting such rude and harsh treatment. After Frey did say such a thing, no more words were coming from the Elven scouts. While I did feel a sudden gathering of strong magicules from where the voice came from. Looking into what was happening, I sighed. Do I always need to fight? I thought. The next moment, an arrow condensed out of pure magicules flew straight toward Frey. Her ability to distort and even delete magicules was sure to be the perfect counter, but it didn't even come to that as the arrow stopped midair. Knowing what happened, I smiled as the arrow exploded in a distorted space where it had stopped. Gasping and whispers were coming from the elves as they were shocked at what had just played out in front of their eyes. It isn't from courtesy to fire an arrow at strangers upon your first meeting, isn't it? Chloe said while letting her arm hang down again from being stretched out to stop the arrow's time and then triggering the imbued explosion magic within a barrier created by space and time. It seems like my little Chloe has grown up fine, Shizu said, who spectated the whole thing on the sidelines and continued. We are here for diplomatic reasons. Queen Elora Elrusarian knows about us. Just a few seconds later, the elves came out of the bushes or jumped down from the trees, and at last, the person who spoke with us and shot that arrow just now. As she walked, the others gave her a freeway. Obviously she was of a higher ranking, or it is indeed Elora's daughter, meaning she is your granddaughter, as Elora is the successor of Elmesia Elrusarian. You know what happened very clearly, right, Der? Oh, at that time, huh? I thought as memories flashed in front of my eyes. You are not humans, are you? Even these wolves behind you, if they are Tempest wolves, they wouldn't bow to humans. The girl, looking around 16 years old, said. In contrast, I do know for a fact that she's probably already hundreds of years old. Oh my, she knows about Tempest wolves? I thought, surprised. Tempest wolves have become a regular race to live in the Great Jura Forest. They count as foes not comparable to dire wolves, Seal explained to me. Oh, I see, I thought, and then remembered my meeting with Elaroa. I hadn't told her yet about our connection, and even Seal remained silent at that time. It seemed it was going according to her will. Well, indeed, most of us weren't human once in our lifetime. Anyways, shouldn't you show more respect to the one who saved you from slavery, as it was the kneeling wish of your mother, to free you and all other elves in Ingrasha and over other countries too? I said, smiling. Alora Pav, Rimuru Tempest, allow me to ask you for forgiveness, I said while bowing down and forcing my daughter next to me to do the same as I took her hat with one of my hands and pressed it downwards. To think my daughter threatened the Chaos Creator and even attacked him and his wives. What do I do about this situation? PFTT, please. I do not care. Stop this at once, as it ruins this place's wonderful scenery, Rimuru answered me. I was blushing slightly as it was my first time seeing him without a mask on. Ignoring that, I stood straight again. Were you to this place before? I asked, surprised, but at the same time, I felt like it was only normal for him to have been here. Please let's sit down first before we start, right my wives? Rimuru asked. He must have meant the woman behind him. This place is quite good as it is located on top of a big tree. I should relax a bit, Frey replied. Ever since coming back she had been radiating the aura of laziness. I am happy to see that she finally could rest in peace at another world. I wouldn't say no to a tea from elves, Shizu said, as she once had the chance to taste tea from a wren on her adventures. Even when she was a handful, she was an expert at making tea. We had a long ride to come here, so why not? Chloe added. Right, I should have offered you a place first, I said while walking through the garden. How come I am on edge like this? I have known his real identity all along, as we have talked before, I thought, as I dropped the act of a serious Empress quite a few times today. That's all your fault, my silly daughter, I thought. Now that I look at her, she's dressed nicely once, huh? This is Elaine, daughter of Alora. She's a spitting image of her mother. The only difference is between their hair color, which is turquoiseish on Alora's side. I have no rights to this fan art drawing. How come you're dressed good, dear? I asked Trough, thought communication. Oh, Mom, is that you? Well, obviously after hearing who our guests are, there is no way I can show up in the fighting clothes I wear. Elaine El Rusarian, my daughter answered. I sighed. At least try to be nice from now on and apologize later once more. Hi. We walked a few minutes until we reached a pavilion with a big round table under it. Several flowers, trees and bushed could be seen around here, as well as all sort of animals. We've entered what we call the Mother's Garden, I told our guests. Mother? You must be referring to Mother Nature? Shizu, one of the women behind Rimuru, asked. Ever since I've seen her, I felt an intense spiritual pressure from her. Maybe a primal fire spirit? Indeed, this is what we desire and protect. A place where everything that our mother created lives and flourishes in peace and harmony. My mother as well loved this place, so I like calling it Mother's Garden. While I talked, all of us sat down and the Tempest Wolf remained on the grass lying down. The animals first were wary of him, but that soon changed as a small fox lay down besides him. What a lovely story, Rimuru said as he sat down at the opposite place, looking at my eyes straight. At that time the servants arrived and brought the tea requested by our guests, which I should have handled beforehand. Ha, what a mess, I thought while I took a sip from my cup. Is the tea to your liking? Elaine asked as an answer. She became a nod of everyone present at the table, and Shizu spoke up. It smells and tastes just like Aren's, even Trough. Hers is still better, or is it because of her herself and the mood she gives off? It was clear that Shizu thought openly, which amused Rimuru. Good to see that everyone's mood is slowly increasing. It's the perfect timing to start our conversation. But wait. Wasn't Aunt's name? How do you know about Aunt Aren? Elaine asked, surprised. Elaine, please keep it down, I said while I could see her excited face. This child has been obsessed with Mother and Aunt ever since learning of their existence. But both of them left this world to somewhere else. They left me when I was just 50 years old, and I learned from the others how to take care of a dynasty such as Seran. Oh, please let's stop this, Rimuru intervened. Here we go. He hated formal speech always, Chloe said as if she would nag her husband. There's nothing better than a conversation between friends, right? Who wants to talk so serious like the entire day? Rimuru said in his defense. Not forgetting that Alora is my daughter, so. Cleaning the sound of a broken teacup stopped Rimuru and the other's conversation as my hand just couldn't hold it. I guess I was just too surprised. Daughter? I do not remember having a father, I said shocked. Ah well. Rimuru said while closing his eyes and scratching the back of his head. He sighed deeply. Was he by any chance disgusted? Or didn't he want to say anything at all? All sorts of thoughts rushed through my head. Actually, he took a deep breath. Was he going to curse my existence? I have a lot of daughters, but that's just in name. Most of them are just descendants or successors of my wife's races or families, but... He paused again. I for myself couldn't predict where this was going in any way. But actually, you are one of my few blood-related children. My own flesh and blood, one could say, and I was the one to pair you with that spirit of yours, not your mother Elmesia. Ah. You are my... I asked. Yes. I Rimuru Tempest am your father. I had no chance to take care of you as Elmesia never tall. No, I shouldn't blame her. Because I had a lot of things to take care of, Rimuru continued. Why am I shaking so much? Is it joy, happiness, hatred as he hasn't told me sooner? Because mother never told me? I thought while my hands were shaking. Mom, Elaine said, surprised and worried. Oh, it's nothing, my dear daughter. Yes. Nothing. I said while wishing away the tears that I could not stop coming from my eyes, until I suddenly felt a warm hug. It was Rimno, my father, who embraced me and caressed my head. I've not only come here for business. I've come to tell you the truth, and I slipped up making it to such an abrupt event for you, he said. Why haven't you told me when I asked you to save Elaine from slavery? I asked with a sobby voice. At that time I wasn't able. I was afraid of what I would do when I summoned those memories. Afraid of what chaos I would bring, he said. It seemed only to be half true, but I decided to trust him. Third Pav, I sealed off your memories as you weren't ready. Seal spoke, almost panicking. Don't shoulder the guilt alone. No, Seal, even when you did. I felt it that day. Our connection isn't something you could seal off completely. I knew it and still decided to look away. I was ignorant and caught in past events, Rimuru answered. This is something I should do, for Allura and for Elmesia. As it was my desire for her that caused this, and my selfishness that made her hide Allura until the day I ordered everyone to never come back to the Cardinal World, Rimuru thought. Shizu, Chloe and Frey were silently watching. All of them knew and decided not to butt in at such an important father-daughter moment. For them, Allura was just like a child of their own. As for Elaine, she was shocked and happy about having a grandfather. She soon joined their hug while crying tears of happiness, and Rimuru had now decided about the near future. The beginning of the new Tempest as a flying island, bringing back Elmesia and Eren, being a responsible man as that was what he owed his wives, and the return of his subordinates, all that will the Cardinal World be changing once more.